We're going to be measuring with a micrometer today, and before we measure anything I want to go over the names of the parts of a micrometer. This U-shaped material right here is called the frame. This little button over here is called the anvil. This rod right here is called the spindle, and the micrometer measures the distance between the anvil and the spindle. This is the lock. That's unlocked, and this is locked. This area right here is called the barrel, sometimes called the sleeve. This piece right here that rotates is called the thimble. And on our thimble we have a ratchet. On some micrometers the ratchet is out here. On this micrometer the ratchet's right here on the thimble. This micrometer will measure to a 10,000ths of an inch, 0.0001. We're just going to work on measuring to a thousandths today, 0.001. So before we get started measuring, I want to point out some of the measurement lines. This line right here, traveling left to right, is the read line. Below the read line we have lines that signify a tenth of an inch. This one is 1/10 or 100 thousandths. And between the tenths lines we have 25 thousandths lines. So if you count between 0 and 1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 25 thousandths lines equaling 0.1. Okay. On the thimble we have thousandths lines. And I'm going to close the mic all the way up and it should zero out. So here we see our 0 line, and if you look at the distance between the anvil and the spindle, it's closed. There's no space between there, and we're reading 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back our thimble off 1/1000. So here we've gone one line off of the 0, 0.001. So now, even though we can't really see it, there is a thousandth of space between the anvil and the spindle. I'm going to open our mic up a little bit so we can start to see space between the anvil and the thimble, and we can understand the lines that are on the thimble. So I'm going to open the mic up by spinning the thimble. Right now we're at 0.005. We can just start to see some daylight between the anvil and the thimble. That's because the average human hair or a sheet of paper is in the neighborhood of 3 to 6 thousandths of an inch. 0.003 to 0.006. So we can see about a piece of paper between the anvil and the spindle. I'm going to spin the thimble around one complete revolution, and we'll see that we have 10 thousandths, 0.010, 15 thousandths, 0.015, 20 thousandths, 0.020, all the way back to 0 again, going 25 thousandths of an inch. It's hard to see, but right next to the 0, we can just start to see a 25 thousandths line. And I'm going to angle the mic so we can just see that line that's right there. Now, I'm going to spin the thimble and go an additional 5 thousandths to make that line a little more visible. Now we can clearly see the 25 thousandths line next to the 0. So if I want to know the amount of space that's between the anvil and the thimble, I have to look at my reed line and count my number of 25 thousandths, and I have one line, 0.025. I have to add the number that's on the thimble, 0.005. So right now the space between my micrometer is 0.025 plus 0.005, or 30 thousandths of an inch, 0.030. Now that we understand tenths lines, 25 thousandths lines, and thousandths lines, let's measure something. This will be question number 1. So I have a washer, and it has 2 thicknesses. So we'll measure the bigger the 2 thicknesses first. I'm going to open my mic up until I can fit the washer between the anvil and the spindle. When I can, I'm going to tighten the mic down using the ratchet. The ratchet prevents me from over tightening the mic. So I'm going to tighten the ratchet down, then I'll push the lock over. This will lock the thimble in place so I don't have to worry about it moving slightly as I move the mic around. So we can see that I have the larger thickness of the washer between the anvil and the spindle, and now we're going to take our measurement. So as I look down the reed line, I see the 1 telling me that this is bigger than 1/10, 0.100. Now I'm going to count the 25 thousandths lines that are after the 1 and add them to it. So I have 1, 2, 3 25 thousandths lines. So 0.1 plus 0.075. Now I need to add the number that's on my thimble. So I can see, here's 15 here, 16, 17, and this is important. When we look at a mic, we need to look straight on at the reed line, not at an angle. So this line right here is 17. It's not to the 18 line yet. We're always going to go to the number that is smaller. We can't say it's 18, it's not there. It's 17 and some. The and some is the 10 thousandths lines, and we'll learn how to read them in the next video. So we take our tenth, 0.1, we add our 25 thousandths line, so we have 0.175, and then we need to add our thimble reading, 0.017. And that'll give us the answer to question number 1. Question number 2. We're going to measure the thickness of this washer from this dished inside surface here to the other side. It's not as thick as this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put our washer in the mic and make sure that my anvil is down inside of the washer. I'm going to tighten the mic up with the ratchet. Lock the mic in place, and now I'm ready to take a reading. So now when we look at our read line, our 1 in the 10th place is not there anymore. So this washer is going to measure 0.0. Now I need to add my 25 thousandths lines, and I see 1, 2, 3 25 thousandths lines. So I have 0.075, and I need to add my thousandths place that's on the thimble. So I have 20, 21, 22. Again, let's make sure that we look straight on at the read line so we can see where it is. 20, 21, 22. So the answer to number 2 is 0.075 plus 0.022. All right, that was pretty easy. So I have my mic opened up so I can fit it around the linkage. I'm going to tighten my mic up using the ratchet. You should be able to slide the part back and forth between the anvil and the spindle. If you can't slide your part back and forth, you haven't tightened down on the center line of the part. I've locked my mic in place, and now I'm ready to read. So first I need to look at my tenths lines and see the last tenth that's exposed. Now I need to add my 25 thousandths lines to my 10th line. So I count my number of 25 thousandths lines here. 1, 2, 3. And now after I add my tenths and my 25 thousandths lines, I'm ready to add my thousandths lines on the thimble. For the answer to question number 3. Well, thanks for reading the mic with me. See you next time, and we'll measure 10 thousandths of an inch.